welcome to the Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. In today's episode, we got Patrick Touhey. He's the founder of Elite Performance, and he's the Senior Vice President of Allied Solutions. And between all of this, he has written an amazing book called Create Forever Teammates. And he will tell us more about his life journey in the podcast. Welcome, Patrick. I'm looking much forward to hear what you have to say, or rather what happened in your entrepreneurial life early on, because you have been writing a book already, which is one of my goals as well. I guess this must wait a little bit, but this is definitely something I'm looking up to. When you write your book about leadership, about everything around that, it's definitely something very, very interesting. Please, Patrick, tell us a little bit more about yourself, about how you got where you are today and where you want to go in the future.
Thanks, Omar. And first off, thank you so much for having me on your show. Really, really excited to be here. So my journey actually was not the easiest one, Omar. So growing up, I'm one of 10 siblings. And the reason why I want to share this is because it played a big role in my motivation. So I'm one of 10 children, and unfortunately, the environment we grew up in was such that my dad, who I love dearly, he passed many, many years ago. However, he was a struggling alcoholic who was unemployable. And with 10 children, as you can imagine, it became, quite a struggle. And the reason why I share that is it left an imprint on me as a young child of experiencing poverty. And I can remember saying to myself several times that when I grow up and when I have a family, I'm not going to live this way. I want to make a different experience for my life. And, that planted a seed, Omar. I mean, there was a lot of work that needed to be done to achieve that, but it was the beginning of a seed that was planted around. I didn't want this for myself, and I wanted to break the cycle. And so I will tell you that from that point till I was married, life wasn't so easy for me. I mean, when you're in an environment like that, you tend to replicate, what you see and what's mentored to you and what's influenced to you. So it wasn't the most ideal place to learn how to be an entrepreneur or learn how to succeed. However, the biggest influencers for me during that time were the coaches that I played sports for. And the reason why I mention that is because these coaches not only were very good coaches, Omar, but they were extremely interested and cared very much about who I was as a person. And they would reinforce to me, even though it didn't necessarily click right away, they were very patient, but they would reinforce to me that I was very smart. I had a lot of talent outside of basketball, that I was capable of achieving whatever I wanted to go after, that there was so much potential in me. And, it's really the first time I heard something like that from a male figure. And again, although it didn't materialize right away, it planted this seed. So I thought to myself later in life that I remember those coaches telling me that, and maybe there is a possibility that I could become something more than maybe I limited myself to. And so when I graduated from college, which was a feat in itself, I ended up in the business world, and I started out in banking. And as I began my career, what was fed back to me, Omar, was that I had this ability to really connect with people and that I also had this ability to make others feel valued and important. And as a result of that, they were more enthused about what they were doing. Now, at the time, I didn't register a lot of that as being a powerful attribute. It was just me, internalizing, I just want to be a good person. But it also reinforced this idea that, maybe there's something more to it. And I made it a practice to try to do three things, Omar. One was to appreciate others. The second was to help others feel included. And the third was to demonstrate love. And if those three principles could be my driving force, then I believe that the way I conduct myself and the way that I interact with others and the impact I might have on others would truly be, a big difference in people's lives. And so I was promoted, I was put in leadership positions. I became very successful at doing that. I'm going to fast forward. I got to a point where I thought to myself, Patrick, maybe you could run your own business. Maybe you could be someone who could start up a company and build it to be successful. Okay. And I'll never forget the day I came home from my corporate job, very good job. And I told my wife, we had 2 young kids at the time, that I was going to quit my job and start my own company. Well, she almost had a heart attack.
I would definitely. I can imagine. Let me pause here for a minute.
Yeah.
This is so sorry to interrupt, but this is definitely one life point where everyone is struggling with, including myself, because I did exactly the same. So it was exactly the same scenario. So just going to sports, to basketball. Why I want to go back there and pick up later on exactly at the when you wanted to do your own business or create your own business, is because of discipline. I just wanted to bring this quickly in there, because basketball, and I guess you're pretty big, you're okay. So you have been playing basketball. Was it professionally or an amateur league or high school?
So yes, I played at the high school level, had a very successful high school career, and then ended up playing at the collegiate level. I never made it beyond that, but okay. I did play at the collegiate level, and was humbly speaking, a pretty good player.
I can imagine. I mean, when I hear basketball, obviously we hear Kobe Bryant, we hear all the big stars, Abdul Jabbar back in the days. I mean, there are some pretty good names out there. And when I think about it, because I'm mentioning Kobe Bryant here, because he was the one who actually, when he's seen teammates getting up at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, he was already at 4 or at 5 o'clock in the gym working out. When they went home, he was 2 hours more in there. So that made for him about 4 hours more per day. And if you count this into 7 days, you obviously have 28 hours. And if you put it times 4 in the month, we are looking at about 100 hours more in training than anyone else. So you can imagine you are better than everyone else. And we're coming to this simple mathematics here of working harder helps, is not everything, but helps definitely, and push through at a time where it's hard, but where it's necessary. And for most of them, they were already millionaires, but he didn't mind. He just pushed through even more. That's why I mentioned this because I've done myself at a pretty high level sports, and it's definitely helping a lot. And you can filter out. Not everyone has the same the same line, you know, where he's going through, or the same things where he's going through. But I think the percentage goes pretty high when we go in higher positions, or in business related matters, people who open their own businesses, that they have actually something like that in their background. You know, you can see some high level discipline sports, or high level sports which they have done before, which actually showing already the direction which I never, for example, related to anything what's coming afterwards, but it's actually the ground where it's already being prepared for you to go to the next level. So just quickly, what I wanted to mention about basketball to anyone listening, which is super, super important, I think, and very interesting. Not only about sports, but sports is the main thing about the body, the mind, the discipline to get up in the morning, the pain to push through, even though everything hurts, you know, it's to have responsibility. So yeah, sorry, just to put this quickly in. And this is as well, I guess, for many families, the wives then saying, obviously, if they see, oh, this is going to be hard or something, maybe then it's different. But if they see the person is already 100% in sports, they get up in the morning, they do their thing, you know, they just push through. I think there is no problem, and they can just say whatever, even if there's 3 kids, no problem. Just do what you have to do your business, and you know, I back you up. You know, this is definitely what I would suggest for everyone. Please continue. This is now getting very interesting, you know?
So it's really, some of the things you said, Omar, registered some things for me. And yes, my wife very quickly began to understand that if anyone was going to succeed at it, I could do it. And it was because of my character, my mannerisms, my disciplines, my accountability, and a bunch of other things that, to your point, were things that were fostered when I was playing sports. And the other couple things I want to mention are there is no, and this is a cliche, I know it sounds like a cliche, and it probably is one, but the truth of the matter is that there, in my mind's eye, there is no other classroom that prepares us to be leaders or entrepreneurs than the classroom that's involved in team sports. Because not only the things you referenced, but team sports requires me to know how to be in a relationship. Team sports teaches me how to be selfless. Team sports teaches me, if I have the right mentoring, what integrity is all about. You know, team sports teaches me what disappointment feels like, and how I respond to it. These are all things that entrepreneurs are going to experience. These are, I mean, if it was easy to be an entrepreneur, we would all be doing it and make millions of dollars, correct?
Definitely.
And that's just not the case. And so when you're on this journey of being an entrepreneur, you know, all of these things come into play, all of these, you know, peaks and valleys of adversity, of joy, of celebration, of hardship, of failure, of, you know, all of these things are part of the experience. And if you're equipped to handle those in a way that you've experienced it before, and you have the emotional maturity to work through those things, then your chance of being a successful entrepreneur is going to grow exponentially as a result of that. At least that's what my experience has been. As I started this company and began to grow it, you know, there was huge learning curves. There were things that I had to experience that were hardships to learn from. But the thing is that I wasn't overwhelmed by any of those, or did I feel like I'm going to quit on them because it just got a little bit hard. And maybe this was the biggest mistake I made. I should have never left my position in the corporate world. I was fully prepared to embrace those, They were some difficult times, but I knew that if I stuck to the things and the disciplines that I learned through sports, that I would definitely be doing my best to try to have a positive outcome. And if there wasn't the ability to have that positive outcome, just like any loss I ever took in a basketball game, who I am as a loser is going to matter too. So, failure and losing is a great lesson. So I did. I started this business, and I started it with $5,000 of savings, and I took a $75,000 home equity line on my home. And I told my wife, when this money runs out, if it runs out, at least I'll have given it my best shot. And so it was very exciting. It was scary and all those things at the same time. But if I fast forward, I sold the business in 2007. I started it in 1999, and I sold it for multi-million dollars of money. And
Great.
It was a highly successful business. It was a wonderful venture. I had some reservations about selling it. However, I'm glad that I did. And the company that I sold it to asked me to stay on board to continue running it.
That would be my next question, actually.
Yeah. They asked me to get two-year renewable contracts as long as I wanted to do it, as long as, we were bringing the results that the corporation was looking for. And so here we are in 2022, Omar, and I must be doing something right because I still have the job and haven't lost the contract yet. So I'm excited about that. But it also morphed into this other business I've started called Elite Performance Touhey. And between my coaching experience and my corporate experience, I thought that there were some things I could teach, not only to entrepreneurs and corporate leaders, but to sports teams about how to build and create forever teammates, passionate people that love showing up for work, people that love showing up for practice, how they treat each other, how they handle adversity, a whole bunch of things. And so that's where I am today. And I love doing both, Omar. I love my corporate responsibilities, and I still have this appetite to feed my entrepreneurial spirit by doing this other company. And we'll see what happens with it. I'm very confident that I think it will be highly successful.
Okay, I mean, this is an amazing story, and especially when you have mentioned why would I wanted to ask you if you're still implicated in the business, because at the moment in the Amazon world, there is something called aggregators, and these aggregators are buying the Amazon big companies, and they have different approaches. So you have 20 different aggregators. Sometimes they say, okay, come on, do you want to come and work in your own business? Or they ask him, please come and work with the business. Or some others just throw in a few millions, and then they're out of the business and they can go and do whatever, But that's why actually was my question, because normally when you have a business and you really care about it and you build it up from the beginning, you obviously want to stay in there and at least be a board advisor or something, like there's always something to do in there, and to still, kind of, that it's already sold, but, to still have a little bit something to say and see where your baby is going, actually. So I think it's really important.
Absolutely. And I was very grateful and blessed to have someone who acquired it, who gave me that opportunity and really allowed me to continue to run it fairly independently. Now, there's corporate disciplines and guardrails that we had to migrate and integrate to. However, there was also this understanding that, one of the comments one of the individuals made, who was an executive officer, said, "Hey, there's nothing broken about this company, and it's actually set up to be highly successful on a long-term basis. So if it isn't broke, let's not mess with it. And
sure.
And so, I was very, very appreciative of that, Omar. I was very lucky to have that kind of acquisition in respect to the executive team at the company that acquired us and how they were going to move forward.
That's definitely something you can learn a lot from, and I'm sure this will be very valuable for our listeners. I have as well another question, because when I look in the background, there is I think it's your book. Is that correct? So you wrote a book, Create Forever Teammates, and without reading Teammates, I read it after I actually brought in the sport aspect. The sports aspect is really something I have experience in, and that's why I mentioned it. But now I see actually your book is exactly turning around the same matter. Please tell us a little bit more about the book, how you had the idea to write this, and what is it all about?
Yeah. So the book came to me in result of the observations I was making in respect to my coaching experience around the teams I was coaching, and then the observations I made in respect to, the competition and opponents. And then this is the beauty of the diversity of it, Omar, is I would then go to my corporate job and I would make observations in respect to how are our coworkers different, the same, in respect to, their performance, their enthusiasm, and a whole bunch of other things. And it was interesting for me to see that whether it was in the corporate world with coworker teams or in the sports world with sports teams, there was a common denominator that was being exposed to me that I felt very sad about. And what it was this. The one thing that I began to see that was harmful was that whether it was on the athletic side or the corporate side, there was too much of a laser focus on outcomes, results, and numbers.
Yeah.
In other words, there's nothing more important than those things. Even though our most precious resource is human beings, that comprise of so much more than just numbers, outcomes, and results. That's what we're going to demand from them. That's the kind of commitment we're going to require of them. And that's the focus of what we are going to strategize, plan, and execute to become a successful basketball team, football team, soccer team, or a successful corporation. Now, that will work. Okay. I mean, if you're sharp in your craft and you have a commitment to being the best and you put a ton of time into it, you're probably going to have some degree of success, if not a lot of success. But what I was hearing from those individuals, and I will use Kobe as an example, but what I was hearing from those individuals, they were experiencing mostly drudgery, mostly felt like a burden while they were succeeding significantly.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, how sad is that? That we can't even feel joy and happiness. And when we do, it's for a short period of time when we hit the marks. In other words, you hit that mark and there's enthusiasm, there's happiness because you achieved a goal you were going after. But it's a mark, it's a number. And it loses its joy very quickly. And unless you bring the human experience into it, unless you bring a bunch of human factors around what I call intrinsic goals, then intrinsic commitment, intrinsic development, along with the extrinsic, along with honing your craft, along with being the best skilled at what you do, there has to be a balance of both in order for enthusiasm, joy, passion to take place. Now, I want to reference Kobe Bryant real quick. There are people like Kobe Bryant. And what I mean by that is Kobe Bryant and many others like him have an innate and intrinsic connection to the love of what they're doing. So when they work really hard, it doesn't feel like a burden to them mostly. It feels joyful. It feels good because they have this inner connection to what they're doing around a love for it. Okay. These are exceptions to the rules. Okay. There's a lot of players who may and do reach their fullest potential who have that kind of connection. But in general, most people, and if you're going to be an entrepreneurial person and you're going to lead, you have to understand that there's not everyone that works for you is a Kobe Bryant. And that we have to find ways, because to me, leadership, entrepreneurship, which brings other people into the equation, if that's what you're pursuing when you build your business, is this idea that you really need to know how to influence and motivate, and that not everybody is a Kobe Bryant. And so you have to ask yourself, okay, then what's next? What do I need to learn? What do I need to practice? What do I need to experiment with in order to get everyone to as close a level as a Kobe Bryant? And that's really where the magic occurs. And it is an intrinsic spirit thing. So this is what I was observing, Omar. And it became very clear to me that if I didn't start spending time on building these intrinsic, and when I say intrinsic, what I mean by that is love, appreciation, inclusion, selflessness, trust, vulnerability. There's a whole gamut of intrinsic disciplines, just like the production discipline that's required, that if you spend as much time on both, or at least 30%, 35% of your time on the intrinsic development, you're going to have people, one, that love where they work. They love where they work. Two, they feel a lot of joy in what they're doing because they're connected to a different purpose for what they do. They want to deliver the numbers. They want to be highly successful, but they want to do it with a bunch of other people who are individuals that they love. So I said,
company culture.
Yeah, the culture. And so I wrote the book. I said, you know what? I'm going to write a book that is really easy to read. However, it has some invaluable, in my opinion, and I put it to work, so I see the results of it, invaluable intrinsic developments that if a corporation or a team spent time building those and developing those, then they're going to have a powerful team. They're going to have a team that truly loves each other. And then what happens there is you're at least going to be in the top percentile in how you perform and what successes you achieve. And in a bunch of other cases, you're going to blow your competition away because they're so far removed from being connected to this that you will, in fact, our young people, Omar, are requiring this. We talk about emotional intelligence. Can you imagine that word in leadership 20 years ago? CEO, you have to become emotionally intelligent. And they're like, are you kidding me? What the heck is, I haven't felt something in 30 years. You're going to tell me I got to feel now? So you understand.
A lot of things change. Yes.
Right. So we have to, you're going to fall behind. You are going to die on the vine if you don't integrate some of these principles. I just know it and I see it. Or you know what? Let me just finish with this statement. You're going to lose really, really good talent.
I can confirm that, if you don't have a company culture, especially nowadays in our fast moving world, and as well in our remote world right now, because trust me, it's getting harder and harder to keep a team together, to keep a team happy if they're not in offices. So we're looking at another level, even out of offices now, where we have to establish a company culture without being physically present in the morning, having a meeting or having the coffee together, saying hello to everyone. It's completely different now. Now we're connected 24 hours. So some are sleeping from the team, others are working. So we're really shifting into out of the industrial age. So we need to really to drive on both sides now. And what you said is completely true, and we need to adapt it on the remote side as well, because there is no difference. But we just have to,
Omar, it's funny, right? And I'm sure you've seen this. Okay, there's a purpose for, and there's a very strategic value to, as a result of COVID and the shift to virtual, whether virtual meetings, virtual workspaces, and things of that nature. There's a strategic value to, by error or by forcefulness, not error, but by forcefulness, we had to go to this virtual type of communication, relationship building, and things of that nature. I agree with you 100%. It's going to have some challenges. So here's what I'll share. This is what I love with my own team. So we'll have a Zoom meeting. Okay, Omar?
Okay.
And there's 20 people on the meeting. And within 3 minutes, it might even be sooner than that, 3 minutes, a percentage, whether it's 25% or 50%, are also doing something else while they're trying to listen.
Yeah, okay? Which is not possible. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're in their own little space, and they're home, and they're not in it, and they're not in a conference room, and they're getting other things done to them that are more important to listening what's being discussed in the meeting. And it's funny. Last week I said to my people, here's the new rule. It's what we call and teach and preach. It's called empathetic listening.
Okay.
So can you imagine if you ask someone to put something together that strategically is going to add, significant benefit and value to what we do based on the research, the investigation, the data, and everything else that they've harnessed and put together to substantiate why we're going to make some changes in how we do things. That someone spent hours upon hours of doing that for us, for all of us, like all 20 of us right here in this meeting. And let's say you were that person, and 25 to 50% of you were busy, obviously based on the video screen, doing something else and paying very little attention and having no empathetic listening to what's being presented. How would that make you feel?
Definitely not so nice,
Right. And
it's even sad, because you're preparing everything, you try your best to do everything, and then the team, as the presenter, you feel like, okay, no one cares about what I just put together. So I'm just reinforcing your point that if we were all in a conference room physically there, that would not be a challenge. Sure.
And now it is a challenge. And now it is a challenge, right? To your point. So,
I like I said already before, I listened to a podcast with it's about a month ago, from Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm not sure Friedman. I'm not sure his first name was Lex, but anyway, it's a podcaster, and he was interviewing Mark Zuckerberg, and they spoke about two things, which I disagree with in a meeting, because it would bring us directly back to, again, controlling everyone. It's the eye recognition. That means if I am the camera and when I address you and I speak and I look you into the eyes, you can see if you look in my eyes. That means even if you have 20 people talking, you talking to 20 people on the screens, you can see that the eyes, and as soon as the eyes go somewhere else, you know that they're not attentive. Okay. But to going there, we will go again back and, we have, we want responsible people in our team, and we want self-starters in our team. So I think that it should not even go there, So what they are doing now is they're standing up. So nobody who is on the webcam, for example, should be sitting. They stand up. Same as well in the conference rooms, so that nobody gets too comfortable. So I think this is something, because personally, I'm sitting right now because I'm in a different room, it's but normally during the day or during podcasts, I'm standing, because it's a lot better for my brain, actually. I can move around, I can think of it, it's not that it's not good right now, but I got used to it standing, and I think it's really good, and people are adopting this right now, and I think it's a good thing. And
it's awesome.
There we go with the change. I think it's better than putting down the eye recognition to keep people awake, you can do many other things with the eye recognition, but it's one thing to keep people awake and keep people scared, that they will see me when I move my eyes, no, just let them stand up and then they won't do anything else, because they need to be focused on the screen. If not, you're going to see when they move you away or something. So yeah, there is many different things how we could handle this, and there will be, and we need to take action at some point, because if we're moving in the direction. I don't have to take a plane anymore to talk to you, for example. That's the great thing about what's happening after COVID, because before people were not so much into it, and right now
I think I think there's the that's the benefit side. I truly believe is, back in the day, for a long, long time, I lived in airports. And
same for me.
Yeah. If I were to be honest, I wouldn't say that if I loved every minute of it, and the longer I did it, it became and felt like more of a drain.
Yes.
So, this is one of the benefits of people accepting, video meetings like they never would before, and people actually getting over the scary thought of seeing themselves on screen and making this internal judgment that they look horrible, and so therefore they're going to avoid webcams and Zooms as much as they can. Those people are now on these meetings, and they're showing themselves up on the screen. So it's interesting how it's evolved. But here's the thing, Omar, okay? And I do believe there's a balance, because there is a benefit. However, there's no taking away. There's absolutely no taking away in respect to the business of knowing how to handle a human connection, face to face.
Definitely.
And getting out and seeing your clients. This is not it. I could be wrong, but I know in certain industries, and many, I believe, that this cannot be the predominant way in which we do business, that we still have to get on a plane and we still have to go see our clients.
I agree. I completely agree. And it was an extreme situation in the last 2 years. But I believe we will go not completely back, but definitely, let's say there is a really good client and give you X amount per year and you work really good together. Obviously, you're going to take the time, you take the plane, no matter where he is in Australia or I don't know where, you take the time, you fly there, and you meet him, even if it's only for a few hours. Definitely, I agree with that.
I'll give you an example.
It needs to be like that as well.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Okay. So here within the last month, Omar, I was asked if I would do some sessions for a football team in England. And football over there is soccer. And this gentleman runs a football academy. He read my book and he wanted me to do a lesson for the players at his academy.
Okay.
And what he said to me was this: I can set you up on Zoom, and we have a big facility. We have a conference or auditorium like room the kids could sit in. We'll have you up on the screen and you can do your lesson. Now, my initial reaction was, that would be convenient.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. My next reaction was, Patrick, are you going to be as impactful as you would be if you got on a plane and you flew out there and you did it in person? Because this is the first time this client is going to experience what you do. And is the Zoom conference call going to be as impactful about, what work you're doing and what kind of impact it might have when you're actually within a room at the facility, interacting with the players and the coaches as you're doing the lessons? And the conclusion I came to was, I appreciate the Zoom meeting, but I'm flying out.
Very good.
And my point being is, there would be a time where that Zoom meeting would be absolutely acceptable and very effective. But this is the things that entrepreneurs are going to have to weigh, is because it would be very convenient. Trust me, I don't like flying 7 hours, and I don't like getting in a car and driving 3 hours from the airport to get to the place. But I've got a way in my business. Do I take a chance and roll the dice on a Zoom presentation for the first interaction with this corporation? And I think there will be a lot of people who say, for the sake of time and the pain in the neck that it is to travel, I'm going to do that. That's the choice I'm going to make. That's fine. You live with what choices you make. But I just think this is right. As we're speaking, this is the economy. This is the back and forth that entrepreneurs and leaders are going to have to try to maneuver through to use video in the most strategic way.
I think that was a very, very good example, because you get very tempted to not take the plane anymore, or to not just meet somebody anymore. But when we talk about things like that, if maybe it was the third, fourth meeting and you couldn't make it, okay. But if it's
Exactly.
the first meeting, obviously out of respect, and if everything is fine, the airports are open, you take the time and you fly out there.
Yep.
because if he was already impressed with you through a Zoom meeting, you will make a lot bigger impression when you are live with him, or for the audience over there. So that means he was already happy with you on the Zoom meeting. So you can imagine his reaction when he really sees you. So I think it's a really good, really, really good comparison.
Well, the comment he made to me, are you really going to come out here? I said, yeah, I'll be there. He goes, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I said, no, I'll be there. Wow. Okay.
Great. I think that's really good. I just have I think one question. I got one question for you. When we look at the whole world, we look at the entrepreneurs, or maybe the ones as well who want to be entrepreneurs. What would be your message to everyone out there who is now an entrepreneur or who wants to be an entrepreneur? What would be your core message for them?
Well, probably three things. One would be that if you're looking to pursue entrepreneurship, or if you are an entrepreneur, this idea of embracing change and adjustment in a fast-moving, fast-paced world where artificial intelligence and technology and things are being thrown at us that we have to have some understanding about, we have to have some knowledge about, we have to learn about. But at the same time, it's going to bring different kinds of changes and adjustments in how we're running our business, how we're hiring our people. You know, what would we do from an operational cost perspective in regard to whether it be an internal cost, or do we outsource it because of all of this technology and things that are available today? So this really strong understanding that adjustment and change are going to be even turbo boosted to a different level than what has already been the case. And so how you manage that, you know, both from a strategic perspective, an emotional perspective, and an execution perspective is going to be important. The second thing I would tell entrepreneurs, you know, especially those that involve other employees, that we don't, as I said earlier, forget that our most valuable resource is those human beings that we have as employees.
Definitely.
And how we're developing them, how well we're listening to them, how well we're willing to embrace their ideas, because it's a culture of people coming into the workforce that demand collaboration. They demand co-creating. Now, there are guardrails. There are some things that are not up for vote. There are some things that this is the way, you know, we're going to be doing them. But this idea that they will be part of and included, that entrepreneurs are going to have to really embrace what that looks like and how they're going to go about doing it. And the third thing I would say, you know, which is also vitally important, as we just talked about, and that is that we do have to embrace the challenge of in-person and virtual employees as we build our business, and where that strategically makes sense. And then more importantly, finding ways, because it will become a very isolated experience for many of them. Your company will be dealing with clicks. They'll be dealing with division. They'll be dealing with an easy escape from all of it by just being at home. What are the things that we need to do with those challenges to make sure we have an environment of inclusion, connection, and a group of people and teammates that truly love working with each other? And so, you know, those are the things that I would put out there, Omar.
That's definitely very well said, and I think it makes a lot of sense. To wrap this up, it's really important for if you have employees, to take care of them, because they are the ones who make your company actually turn around. And you know, it's something which is, I mean, it's the most important. But let's say it this way, you know, without them, we're nothing, you know. So yeah, you know, it's very well said. Thank you. Where can anyone who's interested in your book buy the book? I guess on Amazon, correct?
Yep, on Amazon. You could go to my website, which is
the website. We're going to put it here.
Yep, eliteperformancetouhey.com is the website. If you Google Create Forever Teammates, there will be other book outlets that also have the book available that you can purchase it that way. So
and the United
those
States,
are
right?
those are the three. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
it's available. It's available all over the world. So.
Okay. Now, I mean, for Amazon, obviously, but for the other ones, I think it's as well for the United States limited,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
Amazon would be the best.
Okay. That sounds really, really good. Yeah. You already said where anyone can contact you as well on the website if everyone is interested to get in touch with you. I mean, this was really an amazing talk, and I can see that there is plenty of things which people have to think about more, because they make a lot of sense. You know, it's especially for the discipline of sports. I like to talk about this,
I do too, Omar.
Great. Then thank you so much for your time today, Patrick. And I'm sure we will speak in the future. And I will definitely buy your book. I'm gonna have a Kindle here, and we'll do it and click and buy. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Omar. I appreciate it.